graduate magna cum rarely?
Now that is an incredibly complex dish to get right, and I rarely got it right.
Serious?
Well, something about being out there with some guy I hardly knew.
I hardly hear from her or any of you.
Shoot, I just barely get to date at all.
Like most ranchers out here, we barely get by.
You barely touch it.
Hey there, and welcome to TalkWord. This is the place where we get really curious about English words, so you can start using them with total confidence. Today, we're tackling 3 little adverbs that cause a whole lot of confusion.
Okay, let's talk about these 3 words: barely, hardly, and rarely. They sound so similar, right? And they can feel pretty much the same, which is why even advanced English speakers sometimes get tripped up. If you've ever paused for a second before using one of them, trust me, you are not alone. But if you stick with me, by the end of this quick explainer, you'll know exactly which one to grab every single time.
So what's the secret to telling them apart? Well, it all starts with our hero word for today, barely. Once you get a really solid feel for this one, I promise the other 2 are going to click right into place.
Okay, so what does barely really mean? At its heart, it's all about succeeding, but just by a hair, by the absolute smallest margin you can imagine. You see something happen, but it only just happened. That feeling, that's the core of the word barely.
Let's take a classic example you've probably heard a million times. She barely passed the test. What picture does that paint? Well, if passing is 50%, she probably got a 51%, maybe even 50.1%. The point is, she did it. She passed. But whew, was it close.
Or let's think about quantity. Picture this. There was barely enough pizza for everyone. You know that scene, right? The last person in line for food gets the very last slice. So, yeah, everyone got some pizza, but there is not a single crumb left on that plate. That's barely an action.
All right, feeling good about barely? Awesome. Now let's bring its twin into the mix, hardly. And I call them twins for a reason. They are so similar, but they have these subtle little differences in personality. And it's all about the emphasis.
This is where you can really see that subtle difference, that little shift in focus. Barely has this slightly more positive vibe, you know? It's like, I did it, I succeeded. It's focused on the win, even if it was tiny. But hardly, that's a bit more negative. It's all about how close you came to failing. It emphasizes the almost not. And this captures that negative feeling perfectly. Think about it, I could hardly see anything. Means I could see almost nothing. My ability to see was basically 0. The focus isn't on the little bit you could see, it's on the overwhelming darkness.
Excellent. So we've put some space between barely and hardly. Now let's bring in word number 3, rarely. And here's the good news. This one is way easier to separate. If barely and hardly are twins, think of rarely as a distant cousin. They just answer totally different questions.
And this is the key. It's all right here. Barely and hardly answer the question, how much or to what degree. They're about amount. But rarely, it answers a completely different question. How often? It's all about frequency, all about time.
For instance, if you say, living in the desert, we rarely see rain, you're not talking about seeing a tiny amount of rain every single day. No. You're saying the event of rain itself doesn't happen very often. It's infrequent. We're talking about how many times something happens over a long stretch of time.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. I'm going to give you a super simple, memorable cheat sheet. Think of it as your guide to using these words with total confidence from now on. So here you go. Just lock these little phrases in your mind. Barely means only just. I succeeded! Yes! Hardly is almost not at all. Oh no, I almost failed. And rarely is not very often. That thing almost never happens. All right, now for the most important part. It's your turn. Seriously, the best way to make this stick is to use it. So just take a second right now and think. Which one of these words are you going to try and slip into a sentence today? Give it a try.
And hey, if you love digging into words like this, you should definitely check out the TalkWord mobile app. You can actually create your own English word explainers with our 2 friendly hosts. It's a really fun way to build your vocabulary. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you on the next TalkWord explainer.
Rarely, that's the case.
My right hand's so tight I can barely thread a needle.
With Kev on nights and me on days, we barely see each other, much less make a mess in the sheets.